And we're back on another episode of Salient Points. This one's 128 for November 14th. I am Carlos Macias, the master of what? Oh, no. Dalen's not here, man. He's definitely up in the mountains. I hope so. Dan. We're going to track you down. We were off wax, and I was like, don't worry, Dale. I'm going to get to the bottom of this. But, no Dalen Kirkwood this week, but we hope he's doing all right. We hope he's doing all right out there. We'll probably have him back next week, hopefully. We'll see. But we do have Dale Bloss, fresh-faced from a trip to Japan. Second trip to Japan in a year. I'm sorry, is that doxing you though? You kind of
No,
right?
that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
How was
I was much more open about this one than the last one was.
You were a little secretive, huh? You're a little secretive. I saw you took some nice pictures out there. That was pretty cool. But I hope you had fun, man. Is there anything in particular that you're like, okay, I've been here once before this year, a few months ago, and you were like, okay, now on the second trip, I forgot to check this out, or is there something like?
Oh, there's still like a lot of stuff that I needed to do. And the thing is with how it works in Japan, you have to reserve things like way ahead of time. And because we did it like kind of like last minute, we didn't get to do some of the stuff. Like we still haven't seen the Ghibli Museum or the Ghibli Park that's over there. Like you need to be a resident and you'll get like priority tickets to that. I also wanted to go see the Muscle Girl bar over at Ikebukuro. Yeah, that looked like a riot, but you had to like reserve like 3 weeks ahead of time. So I was like, since it was Halloween time, a bunch of stuff was already like kind of reserved, like restaurants, some get-togethers and stuff like that. Well, there's still plenty to do.
Well, look, this is the thing. I think we've said it on wax. If we haven't said it on wax, I'll say it this time. But we got to get Dalen to Japan. Black man in Japan. Just imagine, black man in Japan. And you guys know, you the viewer and the listener know who Dalen is. Imagine it. We would.
You know what he's like.
We would be getting close to probably getting murdered out there. But I'm glad to find out. So maybe for the next trip, Dale, you'll be our guide, man. You'll let us know. It's like
I would love
don't do
to.
that.
Let me know.
Don't touch that. Don't do that. And we'll be like, okay, Dale, whatever, man. We also got Luis Mendez on the Wheels of Steel. Thank you for joining me, sir.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Remember, every time, click the bell. I think that's what it is. Click the notification or whatever. Make sure you subscribe. You leave a comment on the YouTube internet webs, youtube.com, whatever it is. We will put it on here. We will throw it on here. The last week has been kind of busy, man. So we'll get right into it. We will be knowing about Grand Theft Auto 6 very soon. And this is not just fanboy speculations. It's actually from Rockstar themselves. The Sam Houser, even. I used to call them like the Houser brothers, but I think one of the brothers left like years ago, so I think mainly is Sam Houser, but he did tweet at the Rockstar Games account. He said, "We are very excited to let you know that in early December we will release the first trailer for the next Grand Theft Auto. We look forward to many more years of sharing these experiences with all of you." By the time this is up, they might have already revealed it. They kind of did say that they will have revealed it this week, not the trailer. That's next month, right? But the interesting thing on here, I don't know how interesting you guys find this, but he did say the next Grand Theft Auto. He didn't say Grand Theft Auto 6. He didn't say Grand Theft Auto, Vice City, whatever. Is that an interesting factoid there? We'll go to Luis first on this one, because I know you're the resident GTA Online fan on the podcast. And stop logging in, by the way.
I honestly did not put much thought into it until you put it in here. Like, it was just like, well, the next one is 6. Like, I don't... Unless he's just trying to be crafty with it, and the next one will have a subtitle instead of a number. But, I mean, why would they stop putting numbers on them at this point?
But it's been 10 years, man. It's been 10 years. I mean, give us the 6. Because some people, I think, are, like, stylizing it like it's V1 and then 6, like, spelled out, SIX, right? So it'll be... But yeah, it's been 10 years. It's the next thing. The last one was 5.
I wouldn't read too much into it, honestly. Okay. But I do find it interesting that this is the second time they've announced that 6 is in the works and is coming. But for whatever reason, the second announcement is being received way better than the first one. I don't understand why.
Wait, what it is. Well, the first time was like a leak. right?
No,
Or
they officially announced themselves. They're like, "Hey, we're working on the game, by the way. Don't even trip."
okay,
And
okay,
then nobody really cared about it, I guess. And then
yeah,
this time they're like, "Hey, we're still working on it. We're
yeah.
gonna reveal it soon." And everyone's like, "Yes! Oh my God, the game's coming out. This
Well,
is fucking
I
crazy."
think I
It's like, well, they
appreciate that.
already said it, but I
Yeah,
think the difference
yeah.
is the last time they said it in a newswire on their website.
Yeah,
This is
yeah,
the
true.
first time they've actually like put it on socials, on Instagram, Twitter,
Yeah.
whatever. So maybe that's why people feel
Yeah.
like it's a little more
Well, and I think
official
the
now.
fact that he threw in a early December, right? Like it's coming. Like people are just like ready. They're ready, man. They're there.
Announcing an announcement.
I'm hyped. I'm hyped. I'm hyped for the announcement of it. For this, of course. Deo, what do you think, sir?
And I'm pretty damn excited. I don't know. You're right, Luis. I got like way more excited this second time around. I don't know if it's just the internet social hype or something on
Hmm.
Twitter that combined it all. But yeah, I'm really excited. They're definitely withholding like the subtitle or whatever for this GTA.
Yeah.
Um, and because they're trying some new stuff, right? They're gonna have like a female protagonist and everything. So
Yeah.
or at least a playable female lead.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be pretty cool. I did like how everyone on Twitter was just sharing like what they looked like 10 years ago when
Hmm.
when GTA 5 came out versus now, and like
Yeah.
how old and stuff we look.
And it's not out
But
yet, man. It's not out yet. I feel like
I know, right? They might be even
yeah.
2025 for this one, but
I
we'll
think
see.
if they're gonna announce it, I feel like should be
They're confident.
close. Yeah, yeah. I mean, if we hear them saying summer, though, I'll put it on wax. If I hear them saying summer, that's just getting pushed
No
till
way.
fall.
No
It's
way.
coming out like fall officially, but we'll see. We'll see how confident they are. I would think they would just like, here it is. Just give you a teaser. We're working on it. Maybe they do a 2024. They don't even do like a summer, fall, or whatever. You know, maybe a little 24. I think
Possibly.
that would be
Possibly.
kind of cool.
If they release it or like media stream it like how they did with Grand Theft Auto 4, like that was a really cool event. They just had that one
Yeah.
trailer with music. They didn't even say anything.
I watched that
And
thing so many
it was
times, man.
oh, it
Yeah,
was so good.
they did the same with
With 5.
5 and RDR2, where I think the first
Yeah.
trailer they release is usually just like, hey, look at the world. They don't
Yeah.
really like show
No
story or
details.
anything like that.
Right.
It's just like, hey, look at what the world
Dude, these
looks
guys,
like.
and I think
I know
they're
we're
one of
getting
the few
excited.
that can get away with it, right? Rockstar, well, and I mean, it's specifically, well, GTA and Red Dead Redemption too, right? Like they just kind of pan over the different landscapes, and they do the like the sun going to dark, going to light. And I was like, and people are just like, this is amazing. It's gonna be
Yeah.
incredible with no gameplay, no nothing, just the time of day, just the
It's
time
it's
of
like
day
a
over the world. Yeah,
yeah, it's like a vibe trailer. Like they just want to get
Yeah.
like reacquaint players like, hey, this is the
Yeah.
feeling that we want with this game. And so I'm like, yeah, just do that, and people will be incredibly excited.
I'm
for
hyped,
it.
man. This week we'll at least we'll know if there's a 6 in there or the subtitle, and then next month we'll get the trailer. I do like that we got a question. Well, I don't know if we should question them, but you did put up a poll on Twitter. You said, is Rockstar the best developer in the world? Out of 162 votes, 81% said no, 19% said yes. I'm like, yeah, you can agree or disagree, but I'm like, Rockstar's it's kind of up there, man. It's like the fact that they're just gonna give us a time of day teaser and the world's gonna melt. I mean, that's got to give you something, right? But yeah, so that was on Twitter. I don't know if you had any thoughts on that, Dale. Like the fact that
I
everyone
was
said,
yeah, no, a little bit. Like I was actually kind of surprised on how much people like didn't like recent Rockstar games
Yeah.
like Dead Redemption 2 and GTA 5.
yeah,
I thought there'd be a lot more like people that says like, oh yeah, they put this much detail in their games, or they, put this much development time and like polish into their
Yeah.
games, which is
I
true.
think they've just forgotten, man. I think, and which is funny because Red Dead Redemption 2
true.
is one of the best games I feel like of all time, and the fact that it came out 5 years ago or so, and people
Yep.
how quickly you forget. But Rockstar's gonna be like, oh, you thought, okay, you guys forgot, huh? You guys forgot what we're about. So we'll see about that. The other thing, of course, this past week is yesterday we got the Game Award Game of the Year nominations from the Game Awards. The games that are up there is Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Spider-Man 2, Resident Evil 4, Super Mario Brothers Wonder, and Zelda: The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. Which to me, the one that stood out a little bit is Resident Evil 4. Not because it's not great. I put time into it and it's amazing. And it's one of those things that I think us as a collective at WeGotComps.com for our Game of the Years, we still got to come up on a decision. I was like, how do we treat these remakes? Like, is it like they did such an incredible job? Is it from the ground up? Or is it like, let's just focus on original. So I don't know if it's a discussion for now, but at some point we will have to make a decision, right? Which games count, which games don't, right? The most nominations, of course, was for Alan Wake 2. That one got 8 nominations. Baldur's Gate 3 got 8. Spider-Man 2 got 5. And the ones that interest you, Deo, is that the most publishers one is Nintendo got 15 nominations. Sony got 15. Xbox got 10. And I looked it up and I was like, wait a minute, which games counted for Xbox? They had one game, but it includes Activision Blizzard games. So I'm like, okay, that's how they got the 10. That's how they got the 10. They would have had 1 or 2, right? But Forza must have been in there, I'm assuming. Yeah. So the 10 they kind of got it up there with Activision Blizzard. Dale, what do you make of this, man? Is this a big deal? Kind of like, okay, but I feel like there's a parity at 15, 15, and 10, including the Activision Blizzard. There's some parity in quality, right? Or no? Or you don't glean that from that?
Yeah. I guess Xbox is getting there, mainly because they're just so massive nowadays. I didn't really want to comment on that difference.
Okay. Whatever you want to comment.
I think it's weird that Sony got 15. I know. I wanted to comment how sneaky a year Nintendo actually had. They had a really, really good 2023.
Yeah.
And they released some really high quality games along with like Pikmin 4, the Metroid Prime Remaster earlier this year.
Yeah.
And they just kept coming with all these
Super Mario Brothers RPG, man, is coming out.
RPG. No,
I don't know.
Yeah, Wonder. I'm like, but
I want to hear your thoughts on that. By the way, just a quick teaser. We're gonna hear your thoughts on Wonder. But yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. I'm just saying, like every month or every other month, like Nintendo, the Switch platform itself had like a banger lined up, and so that was like it reminded me of the year that what was it? PlayStation 4 had in like 2018 or something like that, where it's just like everything you probably had to be playing on that platform.
Yeah.
And that's what Nintendo did this year, and like not a lot of people are talking about it, which is so weird because the controversy is like, Activision Blizzard, Starfield not getting nominated, all this other noise is happening. Where I'm like, you guys should be talking about how great of a year Nintendo had this year.
Yeah, and I think we might have mentioned it either on the last podcast or the last couple ones, but I think part of it is like Nintendo Switch is the thing that you throw in your backpack. You play portably, right?
Man.
It's kind of like one of those things. Like, well, yeah, it's good. It's good for a portable, even though it's like, it's kind of legit. It's a legit platform, right? It's stinky. It's stinky right now. They need to upgrade it, and we're waiting for 2. That's one of the things. Like 15, they're up there. I wouldn't be surprised if Zelda might get it. I don't know if you guys want to kind of predict that kind of stuff, but potentially there's some good options up there. Luis, this next one's for you, and Dale just mentioned it, right? But there were some snubs. One sort of snub. Starfield got 1 for best RPG, which that's pretty nice. It's still there, just not for Game of the Year. But Hogwarts Legacy, I don't think I saw it anywhere. Not for technical, not for sound, not for nothing. I mean, if there's a correction, please correct me. But I'm pretty sure a lot of the controversy with the author and all that had to do with it, right? But what do you think, Luis?
I don't know. I don't think there's too much to read into it, honestly. It was a good game, but it wasn't. It made a huge splash. It had a huge hype leading up to the release. It came out, people loved it, and then it just went real quiet. So I don't think it was the replay value isn't that great. The world and everything is pretty awesome. The combat is pretty satisfying. The story is okay. It's not great, it's not terrible, it's fine. It was just a good game. Like I don't think there's anything that's super like stand out about this that you would
so it's not necessarily a snub. It's just it just didn't stand out, right? Which could
I think
potentially,
when you consider this year, like in general, this year, like there was so many good games, and there are still good games that have yet to come out. They won't qualify for this, Game of the Year stuff, but when you take all that into consideration, it's like, well, you can't really compare this to like Tears of the Kingdom or something like that, right? It's like it's a huge sort of gap there. Right. So
there you go. So
and
much
Starfield's kind of the same thing, I think. It made a huge splash. It came out, people loved it for a few weeks, and then it's people are still playing it, but it's not like it doesn't have that huge buzz going around.
Well, and there's just a certain sense of like even if you play games like in order, how you're saying Starfield or one before the other, like I've been playing games sort of out of order a little bit, some like lower level if you want to call it that, and then I'm gonna talk about it in what you've been playing, but then you play Spider-Man 2 and you're like, this is like just another level. There's levels to this shit, right? Like there's like you play this and it's like yeah, obviously, you know, how does it Hogwarts Legacy when there's all this other stuff that came out, right? So we'll get to a quick, and I know one of the things that they were kind of making, I saw on Twitter, people were talking about how it's like, it's kind of weird that the nomination period ends before he announces them. So it's kind of like, that's kind of, people were kind of, I guess, making sort of a big deal. I don't know if it was that big of a deal. Kind of a little blip on the radar there. I was like, oh, it's kind of weird that happens. But, you know, we were going to go into quick hits. One of the big things that came out, there's been a lot of stuff happening this last week, right? But there was a live-action Zelda movie announced. Miyamoto got on the Nintendo Japan account, and he said, "This is Miyamoto. I have been working on the live-action film of The Legend of Zelda for many years now with Avi Arad-san, who has produced many mega hit films." By the way, I believe this is the Avi that, if you guys have ever seen Entourage, they base that guy on Avi Arad-san. I have asked Avi-san to produce this film with me, and we have now officially started the development of the film with Nintendo itself heavily involved in the production. It will take time until its completion, but I hope you look forward to seeing it. Eurogamer's header was, "Miyamoto admits Nintendo faces, quote, an extremely high hurdle," end quote, with the Zelda film. And I think that's very much so, right? Like a live action Zelda film, even though this man hasn't talked, he's kind of grunted at us for a long time, right? Well, actually, no, there was the Philips CDI stuff. I don't know if you guys want to look that up, but he's had a voice in like the 90s, early 90s, right? But other than that, I look forward to it. I like the Super Mario Brothers movie, even though that was a 3D animation movie, but it was a little, I'm glad people liked it and it made a boatload of money, but I think they could do a little bit better. Dale, what do you think, man? You got high hopes for this, that they'll kind of work it out?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I really hope they do well with it, but that's going to be very, very hard. I don't know why they want to go the live action route compared to, like, you know, the Mario movie just went 3D animation, which was brilliant. I actually just rewatched it like a couple of days ago, and I was like, this was decent. Like, this was a good way to, you know, get into the movie business with this franchise, or reacquaint itself with this franchise, with the movie business again.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, that's it. And I'm like, why does it have to be live action? Like, come on, Nintendo. Studio Ghibli is right there. Just hire them and make
that's a good
movie
point.
It would be gorgeous.
Yeah.
It would be classic and timeless. But like here, like if they can't nail the casting for Link, if they can't do it, like it's dead. Like you gotta choose the absolute perfect person.
Yeah.
Like I don't care about Zelda. You could kind of hire whoever, but Link has to be perfect.
Yeah, and I think we was it online or something, or on a chat or something. I think actually in a chat that we're on, I remember seeing like stuff like, you know, this is gonna be live action, and there was somebody like on Netflix or something talking about like, oh, Yu Yu Hakusho or whatever. I don't know the name. Dalen will kill me later. But he's like, we're doing a live action. Someone in the comments like, why not just use that money and make an anime, man? Like, make more anime. So now that you say Studio Ghibli make a Zelda movie, yes, just do that. That would be incredible. That'd be incredible. Nintendo has also been in the news, so they've been not so quiet lately, Dale. But I know one of the big things is that Super Mario Brothers Wonder has sold 4.3 million copies within the last 2 weeks. You did also mention Pikmin 4, 2.5 million sold, best-selling game in the series, which is. The series has had a rough go at it, I feel. If that's all they've really sold, this is the best-selling game.
Doesn't say much.
But specifically on the Mario Brothers Wonder selling that much, what do you make of that, Dale?
Yeah, I believe it. Like when I was in Japan, like they plastered the walls of like the train stations and like bus lines, and like advertisement was everywhere.
Yeah.
And like they had kiosks, and like there were people giving out flyers for like Super Mario Wonder, and I was just like, dude, like the marketing for this is just insane, especially in Japan. So
I hope you took one of those flyers, Dale, and looked at it and was like, bro, this is mid. Like, take it back.
Well, I didn't play it yet.
Oh, you hadn't played it yet. You hadn't played it.
I didn't play it. Yeah,
Gotcha.
It came out like that week when I was there. So then I was like, yeah, I'll buy it. It only cost $40 because like the exchange rate was really good.
Nice.
So then I bought it, and I was like, I mean, it reminds me of like Mario on the Wii.
Yeah.
But like,
hold on, you'll tell us more, right? You'll tell us more.
Exactly.
We'll have a little discussion there. So stick around after the regular podcast here, and we'll do what you've been playing. Other than that, also I like this. I did respond to it on Twitter, but Nintendo is basically denying the reports that it briefed developers on the Switch 2. This is the VGC header saying Nintendo President Shuntaro Furukawa has denied it briefed developers on plans for Nintendo Switch successor this summer, calling media reports "quote unquote" untrue. And you know, I think we've we've talked about it before, but like I said on Twitter, like they can and will lie to you. This man doesn't need to tell you the truth. So this thing is coming out, but it's coming out when it's ready. When they see enough dips in the sales of the Switch, which they've already said that they've seen a couple like dips in Switch 1.0. So remember, they can always lie to you. Just a quick little reminder, a little disclaimer, PSA, if you will. The Steam Deck OLED has been announced. It's dropping November 16. There's going to be an HDR OLED. That's what it's going to have. 30-50% longer battery life. Wi-Fi 6E. I don't know what that means, but apparently it's faster. It's faster for downloading. It makes it much smoother. There's going to be a 512 gigabyte version for $549, a 1 terabyte version for $649. One of the details that came out of it, of course, is that the Steam Deck 2 is 2 or 3 years away. This is according to Bloomberg via Eurogamer. They say Valve says, quote, technology doesn't exist, end quote, yet for full Steam Deck 2.0. Valve is also working on several game projects targeting the current Steam Deck hardware. Dale, what do you mean? You are a Steam Deck owner, right, sir? So I
love my Steam Deck. Yeah.
Are you looking for the sequel? What do you think of this news here?
Yeah, definitely. Even though there's like an OLED version coming out, I'm waiting because it's not enough of a jump for me.
Yeah.
To replace my original one, and people are complaining about it for some godly reason, but
yeah.
Whatever the sequel is, I'll definitely be looking for that. As an early adopter, I would hope that the second version of this hardware is a lot better and more improved in many other ways, especially since technology moves so fast.
Yeah. Which is funny, right? That they say it's like we're years away. And it's like it's already,
No, that'll go by like really quickly, and then considering I hope it's the same kind of guts that are in like the Nintendo, so maybe emulation might be really good.
Yeah,
in the Switch series. So
quotes, quote unquote emulation, right?
My backup software will be running on it really well. So.
Yeah, I mean, and it's one of those things where it's like the technology doesn't exist, but it'll be here soon enough, right? To me, it's the size of it, man. To me, it's the size of it. It's just too big. But you don't feel that way. You feel it's fine, I guess. You feel like it's
I use it as like a cloud service for my house. So portability wise, I can't bring it to work with me, especially on the BART train where like, people get mugged all the time. So I'm like, no, I'm just gonna take my 3DS. Nobody cares about a children's toy like
what
that.
Is this? What is this, bro? Get out of here with this children's toy. I don't even know what that is. Yeah, that's kind of the thing for me is the size really of it. But I'm glad. I didn't put the quote in here, but they say they've sold multiple millions of copies of units of the Steam Deck, so it's doing great. And we'll see the sequel at some point. The next thing on here is that Sony is rethinking their live service game strategy. This is the VGC headline. Says Sony has confirmed it's delayed half of its 12 live service games planned for release in the coming years. Quote, we are reviewing this. We are trying as much as possible to ensure these games are enjoyed and liked by gamers for a long time, end quote. And of course, as we know, and as I've said it before on the pod, Bungie's the kingmaker over there, man. So if you don't get through that process at Bungie, you're not going to get through it. And I think that this is part of it, I would assume. It's like, these aren't so great. Luis, what do you make of this, sir, about them rethinking their kind of live service stuff?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we don't know what they are, what they look like, and why they're really deciding to do this. I think it's probably just a knee-jerk reaction, though, to the Bungie news of the layoffs, because they're seeing the statistics there with Destiny 2 of like, oh, players aren't playing this game anymore for some reason. So I think it's just a knee-jerk reaction. I'm like, okay, let's just double-check and make sure that we're actually making good games here.
Yeah.
But I think that's a separate issue. I think it's just because like you and Dalen, we're talking about Destiny 2's been around for a pretty long time. So
long in the tooth,
it makes sense that if you don't make something the players like, they'll just stop playing it, right?
I mean, it might be one of the, kind of like just kind of piggybacking off your point a little bit, I think, is that you can only have so many of these out there, right? Like you can there's Destiny and that one's long in the tooth. And I think, imagine they're like, we have 12 of them, let's drop them. Let's drop them all at once, So it's potentially one of those, like, let's make these things, make sure these are solid games, right? But yeah, I mean, other than that, I know Remedy has also been rethinking their next service game. They're saying Remedy is rebooting. This is off of actually, this is a Remedy CEO saying this. Remedy is rebooting its free-to-play multiplayer co-op game code-named Vanguard into a full quote-unquote premium game with a strong co-op component, now code-named Kestrel. We have made some great strides in free-to-play and multiplayer development in Vanguard. After a lot of careful consideration, we believe that taking on a new direction where the game will be built around Remedy's core competencies is the right way to go. We are creating another distinct Remedy game with Tencent's continued support in making a great cooperative multiplayer experience. That's Taro Vertala. And I do like what Mitch Dyer, he's a writer over at WB Games Montreal, said. He used to be a video games kind of critic. He said, quote, "There's a lot of corpo speak to wade through here, but it gives me hope and I think speaks volumes that a renowned studio on the verge of winning a pile of Game of the Year awards is pivoting away from free to play." So that's kind of how I take it. That's my side of it, Luis, is that I'm hoping we just move away from it completely, man. But I know it's hard. There's so much money there. There's so much money in free to play. It's like you just build a big old base. It's kind of like the movie, I don't know if you guys remember Field of Dreams, right? If you build it, they will come. And I feel like with free to play, they're like, we're building the stage and let everyone come through, and like we'll make money off of the little portions of whales or whatever that we get on there. Does that give you a little slight different perspective on that, Lisa? Or no, it's kind of your same.
Nope.
Okay.
No, not at all.
Yeah. So I'm with Mitch here. I'm with Mitch. Move away from it. Just give me and I know that's me, and I'm probably like in the minority, right? That it's like just give me a 10-hour game. But I know they're expensive to make, and they're they with free to play, you kind of just keep making a little bit more money over time. The next thing is that Sony is going to patent a new time-saving ability for gamers. I have two tweets here. Eurogamer said Sony patents game quote-unquote replay from quote trigger points end quote over streaming, and then VGC kind of that gives a little more detail. Sony wants to patent the ability to launch games from specific points when streaming, allowing users to join the action at key moments without having to play through the rest of the title. Dale, what do you kind of make of this? It sounds interesting. Sounds kind of interesting here.
Yeah, like I wanted to get more details about how this works, because if it's like save states or already like generated save states and someone could just hop in like 50% of the way through, that'd be very interesting to do.
Yeah.
And like it's good and bad in my opinion, because it's good for some people that like don't have time to devote for a lot of this kind of stuff. Especially if like earlier, I think in the other rundown, like there's for the new Final Fantasy Rebirth, like you're gonna make us like play through 20 hours or something of like the
I see. Yeah, I'll bring it up. Yeah, it was kind of like
sorry,
we'll bring it up after this, but yes,
I'm like, yeah, I want to skip over that. I don't want to do that. Like I just want to get to like this point and like start off with the ground running. But other than that, there's gonna be a lot of fake gamers that say like, oh yeah, I played the game,
and
then they just try to do something like this, and I don't know. It's kind of a weird patent.
It is kind of weird. I think like how Eurogamer was talking about. I think as a replay option, where it's like I've played that game, but I want to go back and try out this.
I hope so.
Area.
Yeah. I hope that works in that way. Like if I 100% a game or I finish a game, then it should give like a new game plus kind of situation where I don't not necessarily have to start all the way from the beginning, but like maybe 75 or 50% of the way through. That makes sense to me. Yeah.
And it's specific through streaming, right? So it's kind of one of those things. I know when these different companies were like, we're going to do streaming, and you can just add your friend, and you can just, so if I feel like it's very specific to streaming in the sense that it's like, oh, we have it in the cloud, we have it on these PCs, and you just jump in wherever you want. You just jump in. You gotta load it. You don't gotta anything. You just jump in there. Luis, does this seem exciting for you?
Potentially. Okay. I mean, there every once in a while there comes a game that has a section where you're like, oh man, it's either just boring or some sort of slog or whatever. For me, that was always like an example. The Last of Us Part 1, the hotel when you're in the basement. I was just like, oh man, I don't want to play that. I fucking hate this section. Just because it was difficult. Really, it was just like I was like, let me just get through this. But I mean, it could potentially be interesting. There's games that have those moments. You're like, man, I just want to play this section again, but I don't want to have to like play the whole game or whatever. The thing though that kind of scares me about this is the patenting part. Because we have that example with like the Shadow games, Mordor and War, where they're patenting like the Nemesis system, and now they're patenting this tech for streaming, and it's like, can you just like make good shit and the user base will come? Like just concentrate on making like good shit, and the user base will come to you. You don't need to like patent stuff to like force players to do things.
I think I think they want like the competitive advantage, right? It's like look what I think they can visualize the advertisement, right? It's like on PlayStation you could just zoom into this match, you can just go into this section, whereas like Xbox doesn't do that, And I think they've gotten away from those commercials, right? We're long past the Sega versus Nintendo of the early '90s, right? Of the Sega can do what Nintendo don't type of stuff, right? But I can just kind of as a competitive advantage, right? Maybe they could see it's like, well, we can only.
I get it.
Yeah,
I get it.
Yeah.
But...
so I think what you were referencing there, I have a couple little things on Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. But what they said is they're gonna do. So I probably should have been a little more, giving you a little bit more details. But it's gonna be like a CG recap, basically a 17-minute video of what happened with Final Fantasy VII Remake. So that's not what you were thinking, I guess. You thought they were gonna have you run through it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
No, okay. I thought they were gonna make us play, because I wouldn't be surprised if Square Enix did something like that.
Yeah.
But even in that 17 minutes of my life that I want back, so I want to have a skippable button or something.
Yeah. I would assume it's like in the menu, right? Like it's like, okay, this is previously or whatever. I doubt they would like have you actually sit through it.
They might ask you like if you want, like in God of War Ragnarok, they're like, do you want the recap?
Yeah,
I definitely. They're not going back to their Guns at the Patriots days with those like 3-hour cutscenes and shit.
And those were not skippable. Those are not skippable. Those are not skippable.
Absolutely not.
Even though they were emotional.
Interactive, like you had to be ready, like and for the gameplay on that.
You have to sit around for 5-6 minutes. Oh, it's gonna ask me to do something. But other than that, of course, that's 17-minute recap. Which you know what, I loved remakes so much. I'm gonna sit through it, man. I'm gonna enjoy it. We're gonna give me a little drink, a little, something to enjoy it. That 17-minute recap. But I would assume you guys are gonna be free to skip it, right? But even though I played through it, I platinumed remake and everything. Give it to me. They did say that in Rebirth. This is a Eurogamer header saying Final Fantasy VII Rebirth will let Cloud and company swim for the first time. Square Enix has shared some new footage of the forthcoming game, which shows Cloud, Aerith, Red 13 going for a dip, and yes, the orange beast does have an adorable doggy paddle. So just in case you needed to know that. This next one's for Deo. The last Tekken 8 main roster fighter has been announced. It's Reina from Tekken 8. Was designed by Bayonetta character designer Mari Shimazaki, who also designed Josie Rizal and Kasumi Mishima in Tekken 7. This is according to Fighters_Gen. Deo, what do you make of this, man? It's getting close.
Oh man, I love that. I'm glad that the final roster for Tekken 8 is really good. Actually, it's like 32 fighters, so which is great actually for a starting roster for a fighting game. This last one, Reina, though, man, she looks good. I'm married and everything like that, but she looks like a very healthy person.
Reasonable.
I like her colors. I like her attitude. The weird thing is that she's supposed to be like, they're hinting on the lineage of who she is throughout the Tekken history. And so everyone, and I'm pretty sure it's been confirmed that she is the daughter or granddaughter of Heihachi, like the main baddie of like the entire series.
Okay.
So people, I mean, if you play Kazuya, Jin, or any of that family history, like there's a lot of blood in the water for that. So,
dude.
I tell her to stay away from cliffs, dude.
There you go.
Exactly.
There you go. So I know Dalen's out there super hyped about this. The roster's finalized, right? I'll dip into it. If you're gonna dip into it, Dale, I think we could have a match or something.
Okay. I think in Tekken 8 they're gonna do skill-based matchmaking and everything. So it'd be really fun.
All right, we'll see. Hopefully they can figure it out, man. The last game that we were trying to play fighter-wise was Mortal Kombat, and we couldn't get a match going, man. We couldn't get a match going, and it's ridiculous, man. So I sent that back. Last one before I get into my speed run, which we kind of introduced last time. The stories that no one else cares about, just Carlos. I'll mention that after this. This one is Baldur's Gate 3's Xbox woes will help other platforms. This is according to PC Gamer. Larian, who's the developer, optimization on Baldur's Gate 3 Xbox Series S version resulted in a 34% reduction in VRAM usage. PC and other consoles will benefit from it as well. To me, sure, sounds great, but 34% seems like quite a bit. Dale, what do you make of this, sir?
I mean, that's pretty good. That's really good. That's a third, percentage wise. But yeah, no, I'm really happy. The irony is that the weak Xbox Series S is helping performance for the other.
Yeah, right.
That's the best irony of it all. I didn't really want to mention on that. I just hope that Larian creates a physical version of BG3 for Xbox.
I know.
I will definitely
I know, but you know what? It's gotta be. I know. I gotta get to the speed run here. But it's interesting to me to see that Baldur's Gate 3 and Alan Wake 2, games that are like basically exclusively digital, are like getting respect, man. I like it, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't, because I honestly I haven't played these games because they haven't been physical. Not that I wouldn't buy them or not, and I think Alan Wake 2 I'm gonna just buy digital, right? Because they haven't even talked about. I think specifically, and it was developed by or published at least by Epic Games, I believe. So they're like digital, grab it digital. Whereas Baldur's Gate might get a physical at some point. But it's what do you think of that, Dale? Because we're both buy physical, right?
Yeah, like I mean, I support physical, so that's why I waited for so long. I actually was trying to look for a Baldur's Gate 3 copy on PlayStation 5 in Japan because they have them there.
Oh, okay.
But I couldn't find them anywhere.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'll just settle for the Xbox version because that's where I started Baldur's Gate to begin with.
Yeah.
Like on
you
the
haven't
Xbox,
you
so-
haven't played it yet. You haven't messed with it yet.
No, I haven't.
We're gonna have to digitalize them. We're gonna have to. I know Alan Wake 2. That's kind of next up after I play Spider-Man, but and Baldur's Gate 3, I guess at some point.
Well, what I'm hoping is that enough people buy it digitally that they realize like, oh yeah, there's a demand for this game. Maybe we should make like a physical copy for that
year
in limited run
anniversary
games.
steel cover.
Something like that.
I'm sure.
And I'm like, I'll be there day one.
I think they're just in very specific pockets where they can get away with just digital. Larry, the fact that it's kind of independent, which somebody pointed out that it's an independent game. I mean, it's been in the works for years, right? But it's an indie game through and true. And so that's the thing on their part, that maybe they don't have the publisher thing and they're the self-publishing and they're like, well, we're doing great digitally. And as far Alan Wake 2, the fact that I think they're like Epic Games published is, they're like, we want to do digital, so we're gonna have to pay up. Dale. Let me get into the news speed run for myself real quick. These are the things that no one else cares about. Modern Warfare, it tops UK physical charts in the UK. It beats Super Mario Brothers Wonder, but it's still down 25% versus Modern Warfare 2. The game was developed in 16 months. The developers had to work nights and weekends. Jason Schreier mentioned this over at Bloomberg. One of his tweets is Modern Warfare 3 was conceived to fill a gap in the Call of Duty release schedule for several months. Many developers believed it would be an expansion, but Activision insists that was never the case. And after making 2021's Vanguard in less than 2 years, developers of Sledgehammer Games were promised they wouldn't have to go through that sort of stressful, shortened development cycle again. Then they were told to release a new game in 2023, so that's kind of too bad. But Sledgehammer Games is out there. Their quotes are, it was a labor of love, and it was quote unquote years in the making. The funny thing on a side note to this, of course, is that fans have been dropping negative reviews for the wrong Modern Warfare 3, so that's kind of idiotic in all kinds of senses. They're like, oh, we hate this game so much, but in their ire, in their madness, in how upset they are, they put in the 2011 edition that didn't deserve it, because they were still making damn good games, not just live service games and all that. I do like this little tidbit as well that came out, that Activision is warning that Warzone cheaters, when they will cut the parachute on them and they will go splat on the levels. Didn't look into too much how that works, but I kind of like that idea that if you're cheating, we're going to cut your parachute and down you go. So I kind of like that. Spider-Man 2 sells 5 million copies in just 11 days. That's according to IGN. Mortal Kombat 1 sells 3 million since launch, but I don't like that WB says that they want to invest in more service games. I don't know if you guys have played Mortal Kombat that much, but there's a lot of like little hints of it's a service game. That's why they didn't have time to make their multiplayer work, Dale. I think that was a thing there. They're working on a live service. This one's interesting because in the era that we've seen, for example, Cyberpunk 2077 and Skull Island Rise of the Kings, like just ship it, man. It's ready. The Tintin developers, in a VGC tweet, said the developer of a new Tintin game has told players on the game's release day that it isn't good enough and will take weeks to patch. Quote, those who play the game at launch won't be able to enjoy the experience as we intended it to be, Pendulo Studios said. So it's kind of interesting to see that developers like, let's just push this out. Let's just push it out and make sure it works. Matt Booty is promising, who happens to be the new president of game content and studios, on a recent interview for Microsoft, said that they're on track to make 4 big games a year with smaller stuff in between. He did visit the Coalition and NID recently. It is important that the studios work on stuff they're passionate about, he said. Important to Booty that the studios connect with each other. So Microsoft is already kind of doing the work to connecting all these studios, and 4 big games a year. That's kind of nice. it's kind of nice,
Good.
man. I mean, it's kind of nice there, and smaller stuff in between. The last thing I just wanted to mention real quick, Turok 3 Remaster has been delayed to November 30th. I recently played Turok 1 and 2, the little remaster games. They're kind of trash, man. They're kind of like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why they're doing this. Why they're doing this
from the N64?
Yeah.
Is that the versions?
Yeah. They're trash, man. They're you don't know where you're going. There's the sign. I know signposting in old games are just kind of like that, right? They're just like, just go wherever. You're gonna figure it out. Just figure it out, right? But it's super rough, man. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. But anyways, that was a speed run. I hope I did better than last time. We're gonna jump into what you've been playing. And as per usual, we're kind of been splitting these up a little bit, so I'll kind of reintroduce the gang. I'm Carlos Macias, Deo Blas, fresh from Japan. I'll just mention that again. We gotta get dealing in Japan, man. And Luis Mendez on the wheels of steel. Luis, let's start with you, man. Actually, both of us have been playing this game, but I'll let you go first, of course. Spider-Man 2, sir. How has that been treating you lately?
Well, yeah, I guess since the last time we talked, I had basically, I was close to beating the game.
Okay.
But I did beat it, I think like 2 days ago. It's, I don't know if there's much more I can add from what I said before, honestly, because I'm just going to echo the same stuff. It's a great game. It's a really good game. It's, the story's really good. I really like the story. The combat is pretty satisfying. I like the changes they made with that. Sure, there's bugs and stuff like people had mentioned, but I never encountered anything that was game breaking that I had to like quit the game or the game crashed or anything like that. It was just visual bugs, really, kind of small things that resolve themselves in like a second or two.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know what
I know for me, I just started playing it, by the way. It's kind of like the next up. I was going to do this whole, I'm still going to do it, by the way. To play Alan Wake 2. This is how my brain is broken, by the way. I have admitted it multiple times on Wax. I need to play the Fortnite Alan Wake experience. I'm gonna do that because that came out a few years ago, just to get a little recap. I've never played Fortnite. I might have played like one match, but I'm gonna do that to a little Alan Wake experience. Then I'm gonna go to Control, which is like 10 hours. Then I'm gonna play Alan Wake 2. But before all that, I was like, let me do something nice for myself. Let me do, and so I jumped into Spider-Man 2. I kind of agree with everything you're saying, at least, and it's a nice game. The story is in particularly pretty nice, even though it toes the line of a little too realistic. At some point, it's very early in the game, but you go to Peter's house and you can kind of pick up things that are around his apartment, or it's in his house. He picks up one slip of paper, and you'll know about this too, Dale. The mortgage statement, man. I'm like, what the no? What? These games are too real. These games are too real. I mean, I'm okay with my money, right? So I haven't had a past due statement, but I felt like a little ting in my a little feeling where it's like, damn, Peter, you gotta get your shit together, man. This is you passed your mortgage payments here, but it was a little too real. But other than that, I'm liking the game, man. One of the things that I might have a little bit of I'm gonna have to work at it is the fast travel. You have to do enough activities in the area, right, to engage in that. You can't just like, me and Dylan have been playing Gotham Knights recently. You can't just like pick something out of the sky, right? Or in what's the game, Assassin's Creed, where you just go up to the top of a tower, right? And it's like, okay, I got fast travel. So that's the one that's gonna actually get me into like, okay, I gotta kind of tear up a little bit, right? But other than that, this game is up there, man. Like, there's levels to this shit, and it's like AAA is like, I mean, it's up there. I still got a couple more games to play, but I think Spider-Man 2 is gonna be tough to knock off, man. Even though there's been Zelda, Mario, I actually kind of like. We're gonna talk about it right now in a little bit, Dale. But it's one of those things that Spider-Man 2, man, it's gonna be hard to knock off. The gameplay is super smooth. It's buttery smooth. It's one of the things that we talk about on this podcast regularly, right? But the fact that it's like, well, what's the word that we use, by the way? Frictionless, right? It's for the most part, it's very frictionless gaming. And I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the story. I'm looking forward to, I'm kind of getting a sense, Luis, of like what you've been saying. You said it the last couple times we talked, that like the story's that good, right? Like the story is that good, and I'm feeling it. I'm liking it.
Yeah.
I'm digging it.
Yeah, just to echo that, because I'm not sure if Dale heard it, but it was this is the first game in a very long time. I can't even think the last time this happened where I was just like, I just want to play the main story. Like, I was that invested that I was like, fuck the side quests a little bit. I kind of just want to see what happens next.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was
that. Sounds like fun. Are you guys gonna platinum this game? Both of you guys?
I'm pretty close. I think I got like 2 or 3 trophies left.
Okay, there you go. I think I will potentially because it's not that long of a game, right? I mean, look, I took the time to platinum Assassin's Creed. What's this? Double tier game or whatever. So I think I can make some time for Spider-Man, right? I got to be able to do that. But yeah, anything else that you played, at least before me and Dale get into kind of what we've been playing a little bit?
No, not enough to say much more about Modern Warfare 3 campaign yet, but yeah.
Okay, by the way, yeah, I just got it in the mail today, man. So because a lot of this is kind of like, I'm hearing it, the development cycle was kind of rough and all that stuff, but I want to be able to like play it and say my part, right? I was like, I agree or I disagree or, whatever it is, right? So I'm still next week it's here somewhere in this household, so I'm gonna play it by next week. Okay. Dale, you've been throwing out a little bit of smoke, just a little bit of smoke, and I do like that. I don't know if you tweeted it or you put it in the chat. I think you must have sent us a message on the chat. But from last week's What You've Been Playing podcast, you're like, Super Mario Brothers Wonder is boring. So please, I'm giving you the platform, sir. Explain yourself.
I did that. Yeah, no. I remember I was watching your video with you and Dalen talking about Wonder, and I was like, guys, we've played this game like how many times before? Nothing has changed really, realistically. And I had high hopes for it. I bought it in Japan, and I wanted to like be excited to be fully immersed like a Japanese boy, like who got their Switch in this game for the first time. I'm like, I want to like this. And I played for like I literally put like maybe an hour and a half into it. And then I sat there realizing, I was like, I don't really want to keep playing this right now. I don't know. There's a lot of like because on my Switch, along with me, I brought Bowser's Fury. For the Mario Land 3D World,
which is like a mini Super Mario 64, right? Like a secret mini Super Mario 64.
Yeah. And I have at the first I didn't know what the hell was going on because all this like Bowser's rising up in the sky and there's meteors falling on top of me. I have no idea what's going on, but I loved it. I enjoyed like running around finding all these secrets, like doing these tasks and everything like that. In Wonder, it's not like that, and maybe that's like the fault of myself for playing like that DLC compared to this. And I'm like, I like Wonder. Like there's nothing like, I like all the little details, like especially when you turn into an elephant, all the little like animations that happen when you go down a warp pipe and he has to pull his hat with him through there. And
or he pokes his head out right when he's coming through the other end. That kind of stuff.
And they have the normal challenge, like blue coin challenges and all this kind of stuff in there. But I'm like, I've already played this. I think it's great. I just don't think it's like a Game of the Year candidate, and I don't think it deserves a lot of the scores it was getting. I'm sorry.
Okay, I like it. You don't gotta be sorry. I like it. I will counter this with this. Now that you said you've only played it a little bit. The last couple podcasts, me and Dalen have been kind of like, and I'm trying to poke at you guys a little bit, right? But I was like, Dalen, have you found the fun yet? And last episode, I think we kind of did. And further in, I'm in the third world, but it's always tough to say that, right? To somebody it's like, play further. But there is at some point, and I know what you're saying, that the 3D world, for whatever reason, is more attractive, right? It feels more full. You're in it, right? 2D has kind of like, we don't really play 2D a lot, right? So, but you get further into it, and at some point there's like a switch, Dale. There's a switch where it's like, you know what? Fuck my like nihilism, or I don't know what the word is, or like me just hating nihilism. This is nihilism, yeah. This is just a beautiful game. This is just incredible. It's just plain joy. It's just plain joy that it's here in my hands. Look at his little drill hat. Listen to the fat beats that are happening in this game. Look, there's a level called Ninja Jump On Party, and all you're doing is jumping to the beat and like, okay, I gotta wait till the beat comes through, and then I'll jump to the next section. And there's a bunch of like little like clever, like even like just like the fireballs. I think they used to bounce a little bit more, but I think they bounce even more now. Like you can actually bounce them off the wall. You can attack things that you didn't think you could attack or you couldn't attack before. And it's and you've enjoyed the fever dreams, right? When you grab the flower, it's like, okay, now we're tripping balls real quick. And it's like, I gotta make it to the end of this stage and to stop tripping out. But
yeah. So that's I do like the badges, like all the badges that you collect, so you can get special abilities to enable you to like, hit certain enemies or like defeat them in a certain way. So I was like, I like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe I haven't played enough of it. But I'm just not impressed. That's my problem.
I challenge you. Like I said, I was playing it and I was like, I was feeling the same way. Like the thing that you were saying, like, why it's got high scores. People are, because sometimes you think it's like they're counter programming. Right? He's like, everyone likes Starfield. Everyone likes Baldur's Gate. And I was like, I'm going to be the one that like talks about 2D Mario. But it's like, they might be right. They might be. I don't know if it'll be up there. Right? And even for you, once you play it, hopefully a little bit further. But just listen to the music. Just play around with all the new mechanics, you know? Just tinker with it, you know?
I definitely have to play more of it.
Yeah.
But like if it's just like not my cup of tea anymore, like if that
fair.
2D Mario experience isn't my cup of tea anymore, then it's
But hey, Dale, always bring the smoke, please, sir. Always bring. I don't apologize, please. We
threw
like
it in
that.
the chat. I even threw it on Twitter, and like a lot of people agreed with me. I was like, yeah, okay, I'm not crazy. I just thought that this was.
And I don't think you are. I don't think you are. But I you know what? You know, if you got time, you know, we're all busy. We got things to do. If you got time to push on a little bit, a little further into it. And then if you push on, then you're like, you're still not my jam. You know, that's gonna be acceptable. It's already acceptable, by the way. But if you play a little bit more, did you? There's another game. Did you play Jusant or no? Did you play through that? That's kind of what I was gonna talk about.
That one's next one on my list.
Okay.
But I want like I'm like partway through.
Yeah.
No, I'm not even partway through Spider-Man 2 either. But I want to get to that one and Jusant.
Jusant, by the way, is a super short game. It's like a maybe 4 or 5 hours long game. It's really nice. I do like it. It's one of the things that you were like, Mario's boring. It's like, oh, I'm gonna tell you how Jusant is boring. I was just kind of being facetious a little bit. But it is one of those things that I was seeing a lot of hype for it, and it's one of those like indie games with the cute art style type of thing. But it won me over, not 100%. It won me over like 83%. All right, I ended up kind of liking it. All right, and it's from Don't Nod. It's from I believe it's the same team that did Life is Strange, right? Is that Don't Nod? Or no?
Don't Nod.
Yeah, Don't Nod. So if you, it's a different type of game, right? It's not really like text heavy. A lot of the storytelling that's happening is you're climbing this big old tower as you're finding out what happened to the world, what happened to its inhabitants. It's on Game Pass. A lot of it is very like eco-ish. It reminded me of that. If you guys remember playing Eco, it's very. I mean, you're not hanging on to anyone, right? You're not dragging anyone along, but just the vibe of it. Right, the symbols and all that kind of stuff, and it's telling you a story through the gameplay. There is some parts though, of course, like a big parts of the story was like where it breaks it down. I was like, all right, you guys are having me read through walls of text right here. I don't know how they would have figured it out, but it's a lot of letter writing and that kind of stuff. So expect to read that kind of stuff. It's very short. Yeah, I played it, I think, over the course of a day and a half or something like that. It's not very long, and that's just because, took breaks and then went back to it. It's on Game Pass. It's pretty nice. I kind of would like to hear your thoughts on it, Dale. For me, I liked it, but I'm always kind of like how we were just talking about before. It's like, I want some AAA. I want something just amazing and that works smoothly. This doesn't exactly, it's not frictiony. It's not exactly frictiony, but the fact that it's like, it's a wall climbing, which is kind of cool because it actually got me to like, do I want to wall climb? Is this what I want to do with my life?
Oh, wow.
But in the what are they called, pitons or pitons or whatever it is, like
pitons,
so you do all that stuff
exactly.
Wow. So you do all that, and it's kind of cool because you're using the L2 and the R trigger, and just like, okay, you let go off this one, you're gonna grab that one, but there's friction involved with those. This is not a AAA game, but it's fun enough, it plays well enough, it's on Game Pass.
Right.
Go ahead.
Question: Is that climbing part pretty much simplified? Because like, I mean, they have climbing with the pitons like in Uncharted, but like
it's a little more complicated than Uncharted. It's not super complicated, but there's very much like, okay, I'm gonna have to swing myself on this, so I have to put in one of those. Or like if you go on for too long and you didn't piton yourself, you're gonna fall a very long way and hurt yourself, right? So it's kind of cool how it does it. Like I said, I'm looking forward to your thoughts on it in the future. It's a short game, 4 or 5 hours or something like that. The ending is, maybe we can talk about that when you get around to it, right? That'll be kind of interesting. Yep. Other than that, of course, I finished up Gungrave G.O.R.E. I won't bore you guys too much with it. I did talk about it last week. It was leaving Game Pass, and like I mentioned on what you've been playing, it's like, tell me a game is leaving Game Pass, even though you just dropped it today. Tell me it's leaving in 10 days, and I'll play your game. I think it's leaving today. It's leaving in what? You have 1 day to play it. I don't know if I really
okay.
suggested that much. It gave me Dreamcast arcade vibes, though. I will say that. It has horrible voice work. I never thought like I would be like nitpicky because I try not to be, right? Because I know, Dalen, and I know you pay attention a little bit too, right, Dale, to the voices and stuff like that. But it's bad, man. It's terrible. It's really horrible. When you don't play Gungrave, there's like two other characters that you play as. Like, this is terrible. It's like a very like watered down version of Grave or Gungrave, the main character, and that's terrible. The recommendation just by playing it is always use your guns, because melee is crap. Like, you don't really kill anything. But yeah, one of the things it reminded me of is like it's kind of Bayonetta, but like light, like very much like someone, like those what are those drinks? Those LaCroix?
Crystal Light?
Well, Crystal Light, no, LaCroix.
Like sparkling water.
Like it's a hint of fart of what this other thing is. This is the Gungrave Gore. It really wants to be Bayonetta. The only thing I can say is it gave me Dreamcast vibe, Dreamcast arcade vibes. You know how that era was like, these games aren't super amazing, but they're fun enough. They have decent ideas. The one plus, I guess, it has like 2-3 beautiful cutscenes. You eventually, the ending, the beginning, one in the middle, looks pretty damn incredible. But other than that, it's on Game Pass, I guess. You got a day to play it, tinker with it if you must. We'll end it with you, Dale. What have you been playing, sir? Please explain.
Man, yeah. So I brought my Nintendo 3DS with me on the airplane. So I started playing Legend of Zelda: A Link Between Two Worlds.
Gotta
A Link Between Worlds.
Gotta get around to that.
And I've never been a handheld gamer like my entire life up until like this past year. And so like I started collecting all these games for the Nintendo 3DS because they were shutting down the eShop for it.
Yeah.
And so I was like, yeah, I'll start collecting some of this stuff. And this game, A Link Between Worlds, I always heard it was really good, but like I never got to it because I'm like, it's a handheld game. I don't really take too much stock in it.
You got Link like plastering himself against the wall and shitting.
Yes,
but
man, that mechanic alone like makes the puzzles and the world, like the base world that's normally originally from A Link to the Past, like so much more like tangible and what do you call it, like discovery rich. Like there's so much more to do because of that. And so like when you're playing, and it's super straightforward. Like I love how the mission structure works in the game. The only reason why I decided to like really complete it after my plane ride was like I looked it up and I was like, oh, you could finish it within like 10 hours. And I was like, no way, no Zelda game, no recent Zelda game within a decade lets you do that. So I'm like, okay, let's roll it on. And everything, like what I like about it is that the mission tells you like there are like these sages that you have to go rescue on your trip, and like there's 7 of them. That means there's going to be 7 dungeons. That means you know exactly how much time it's going to take.
Yeah.
And it's like, you could tackle it with whatever way you want. Like it's open to your interpretation. You could even because like how do you say it? Like normally in game design for Zelda games, like you need special weapons in order to
get to the next
dungeon.
Yeah.
Right. There they have a shop and they let you like oh yeah, if you need this boomerang that you normally would have to spend a lot of time unlocking in like Wind Waker or something, like you can just rent it for like 80 rupees.
Yeah.
At this one shop. Or
wait, so renting means it runs out at some point. It goes back.
No, so renting it goes back when you die. So if like you die, they take all your weapons and stuff away. Okay. So I mean, a good easy way to circumvent that is just to save before you go into like a dungeon and then just like reload it after that. I mean, it's really easy. But you can't purchase the weapons, and you kind of want to do that because there are these like kind of fetch quests in the game, which are super simple. Like they take like 5 seconds to do. Where if you gather enough of those resources, you could upgrade permanently those weapons. Yeah. So like instead of your bow and arrow shooting like one arrow, it'll shoot 3 in like a spread. So it covers more ground. It's easier to have.
Yeah.
So it's like little things like that you kind of discover or fall upon while playing the game, that you're just like, oh, I could get better at this, or I could become like more efficient at doing this particular dungeon or fighting this particular enemy. That like it just rolls onto itself, and you're just like, yeah, I'm constantly upgrading myself. I'm constantly discovering new things. acquiring more loot, more money,
and
more
it's
treasure,
of
like
the
that kind of thing.
traditional sense Zelda, right? It's not
Oh yeah,
obviously
yeah.
going forward. The Zelda games we're getting are open world, man. They just make too much money.
That's right.
They just make too much
Yeah,
money. Why wouldn't
and
they do
and
it?
I love that.
Yeah.
That's great because they create a whole very immersive world with
Mm-hmm.
that. But my problem is like I don't have time. I don't have time to like spend like freaking like half an hour trying to figure out how to get into this dungeon or
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
well,
yeah,
not dungeon, but like
yeah,
trying to figure out a puzzle or something like that.
yeah,
And I'm just like I kind of just want the experience where I'm like boom, a quick 30
yeah.
minute hit and like I'm done for the day or like I'll
Yeah,
come back to
which
it
is
later.
it's always kind of one of those things. Is like who's playing these games, man? Because you know the Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild are like that. Whether you're like, okay, I've resigned myself. This is the type of game it is, and it's a Zelda game, and it's
Yeah.
great. But it's you spend a lot of time. Or Elden Ring, you know, Elden Ring is like you have to
Yes.
spend a lot of time with that game to get a lot from it
Right.
or whatever it is. So
Right.
it's
And then
yeah.
right, and then with this year, it's been difficult because like another game of the year would come up. I'm like, dude, like I have to get onto Spider-Man 2 before the spoilers come out for it, or
Yeah.
at least I don't get spoiled for it. And then
Yeah.
when I return to something like Elden Ring or something, I completely forget how the controls even work
Yeah.
or like where things are. So I'm
Yeah.
just like, oh, I have to
Yeah, so this
reacquaint
this
myself.
definitely has been one of the ones I have the game. It's under my bed somewhere, you know, with the rest of my portable type of stuff, right? This is one of the ones that I definitely have to go back. So I appreciate you bringing this one up. I will say this one more question before we get to the next game that you've been playing.
Sure.
3D or no 3D? What are you doing here? What are
Oh,
you
it
doing
looks
here?
good in 3D. It looks
Okay.
really good in
Okay.
3D.
All right.
Honestly, once you get the angle right and
You
everything,
have
and it
to
stays that way.
kind of, you know, maneuver
You
it
do.
and you
You
get
definitely do.
Yeah.
But like it looks really good in 3D. Oh, also plus side, this is the best Zelda story period.
it. Oh,
Like
okay.
I
Okay.
I could definitely say that. Like all the rest of them are kind of like, you know, you try to rescue Zelda or try to fight Ganon or whatever like
Yeah.
that. Pretty straightforward. This one is not. It has a nice
Okay.
little wrinkle into it. I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, this is I literally when I finished the game, I started clapping. So I was just like, you know, this is pretty good."
I gotta mess with it, man. How's the saving in that? The saving's pretty good. You don't gotta wait like
Oh, it's
20
perfect.
minutes, 30 minutes
No.
to save. It does some good saving.
No.
What's this other game? This is one that I was thinking of playing, but I've decided I'm just not gonna do it, man.
You can't. No, you can't. Personally,
Okay, thank
I don't
you.
think I
Thank
don't
you.
recommend you
Okay.
do it. No.
Okay,
No.
because I was like, it's like a 30-hour game. It's a little short, but I was like, I gotta go back and kind of play through the game.
You have
man.
to.
I know they're super long but I'll critical path as much as I'll just make it a mission at some point, man. The new year, I guess. But what have you been playing, Dale? What are we over here alluding to?
Yep, so I'm playing the latest RGG Studio game, Like a Dragon, Gaiden, or A Man Who Without a Name, or whatever. And man, it's good to play Kiryu, Kazuma Kiryu again with the brawler style gameplay. It's been a minute since Yakuza 6 since we've been able to play with him because they switched over to like an RPG real quick. And man, it is, I don't know, it gives me nostalgia feelings, and I know it's like it's gonna make me cry because I know they have to end his story right.
Is that the? I know it's a little spoiler, but that's the idea. This is like the last chapter, kind of, for Kiryu.
Kind of.
Oh, you don't.
I mean, they've done
Okay.
it. This is their third time saying goodbye to this guy, and they can't do it. It's
They
like
just
saying
can't.
goodbye.
Yeah.
They can't. It's like saying like you know how like some of the major publishers like they're like, oh, they're gonna kill off Master Chief, or
Yeah,
they're gonna
yeah,
kill off Kratos from God of War. No, you can't do it.
Yeah.
Because they're so tight and integral to that story and to that franchise that it's just like you're not gonna do it. Or like Marcus Phoenix. You
Yeah.
can't kill off Marcus Phoenix. Come on.
It's gotta be one of those like I dare you, and they're gonna kill him off, and you're like,
They're gonna do it.
they did it.
I
They
know.
did it.
Yeah, but this game is just like it reminds me of a mix between the old Yakuza style games like Yakuza 6 and the newer Judgment games, which are like the
That's
more
right. The action, right? Yeah.
yeah, the action, and not only that, but there's like all these like special missions and special storylines that remind me of Judgment, especially when discovering like clues and everything.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's like a total copy and paste job from like the
Okay.
game world and the gameplay. I'll tell you that they like dressing it up. RGG Studios.
What?
likes recycling their content.
Copy and paste of which game? Which one?
All of them. It's
Oh,
like it's like they
even Judgment. I guess you would get a sense of like
Yeah.
they're just kind of
Yeah.
they're
they
taking
kind of
from that, yeah.
take they take
Yeah.
pieces from like Judgment's map, and then like
Yeah.
they take pieces from the old Yakuza map, and the gameplay from they pick pieces.
Well, that's how
it's all recycled content. That's all I got.
Well, that's how they could kind of keep up, right? With like making a bunch of these games and making them long as hell, because they just at that point you just focus on the story and the little mechanic.
Honestly, I think I read somewhere that this game was developed within like 8 months or something like that.
I think we might have mentioned it. I think it was maybe last week or it was. So. Yeah, right. It was like it's with the, well, no. So what happened was is with that's the idea that it's developed within 6, and they're like, let's flesh it out a little bit more. So they took a little bit longer, but the idea was like a DLC type of version. But you're having fun with it. Right, you're enjoying the story. You're like,
I definitely am. Yeah. For you, I would not start there.
Right.
I would start with Yakuza 0, definitely, because like if you're not familiar with what's going on in that story, it's just gonna fly over your head. You're like, what the hell's going on?
So the last one I played might have been 3. I might have beat 3. Do I got
wait? So you went to 0?
No,
Kiwami 1, Kiwami 2?
No, I've done Yakuza 1 PS2. Mark Hamill, when they had a legit, they put a lot of money into it. 2, when I was like, okay, buy voices, and then I did 3, and I think that was it. I don't think I've been in 4. I think I was at 4, so I got to go to 4, right?
Well, I had 0 installed on my hard drive for like 2 years,
and apparently that one's really good. Apparently that 0 is really good.
0's probably the best, most well-rounded.
What's the strat, Dale? We'll end it on that, man. What's the strat for me? The last one was 3. I think I beat 3. I
think you'll enjoy 0 the best.
Okay, but can I go 4, 5, 6, 0?
No.
Okay.
Don't do that. Like if you played 3 and you finished 3, okay, you'll get a loose understanding what's going on in Like a Dragon Gaiden, but
okay.
Like other stuff, I'm like, they hint at other characters in other games and like plot lines in other games. And I'm like, there's no way someone's gonna be able to start with this. Okay. And like be satisfied in what the heck's going on.
Okay, all right. So but I'm glad I backed off of that, man. I guess whenever I get around to figuring out which Yakuza game, but Luis is at 0 though. You haven't played any of them, right, Luis? So he should start with 0 and just kind of enjoy.
You could start with 0 or Kiwami 1, and you'll be fine.
Okay,
like either one is.
I even forgot Kiwami's existed, man. That's been the podcast. Carlos Macias, thank you guys for joining us. We got Deo Blas, the king of Mid-Bay, expert in all things Japan as well. I'll throw that one out there. You might not like that moniker, but I'm gonna give it to you.
I'm getting there.
Look, if we all go together at one point, you will be the master. You will be the.
Oh my God!
Please tell us where to go, Dale. We're gonna be scared, man. And Luis Mendez on the wheels of steel, of course. Hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. Make sure to comment, click the bell, all that fun stuff. Latest.